Hello, everyone. Today, Joseph, Sarah, and I will be talking to you guys about the language of Olelo, Hawaii. As you can see, first we're going to talk about the origins of Hawaii, then language endangerment, revitalization efforts, and we will end it with explaining a couple of sentence trees.
So to introduce Olelo, Hawaii, we're going to go over its linguistic family tree. So to put it in simpler terms, it belongs to the Eastern Polynesian branch of the Austronesian language family, and it's indigenous to the lands of Hawaii. But as you can see in the diagram to the right, it's a lot more complicated than that as languages. Olelo is influenced a lot by the surrounding islands like the Philippines, Carolines, and can be traced all the way back to Tahitian, Polynesian, Micronesian, Oceanic, like all sorts of influence with it. And so the location of the language is both the islands of Hawaii and Ni'aho. And the estimated number of speakers as of 2008 was 24,000 speakers. So language endangerment. So the socio-historical factors that led to the endangerment of Olelo, Hawaii was whenever it started off with the takeover of the Hawaiian monarchy in 1893 by America. And in 1896, the Hawaiian language was actually outlawed as the language of education in Hawaii, so it wasn't allowed to be taught in classrooms as the primary language. And English replaced both the language taught in educational schools on the Hawaiian Islands, as well as the primary language spoken in any sort of government hearing or financial situations, like just really taking over everyday life of the Hawaiian Native people. And you can see at the picture at the bottom there is actually officers of the USS Boston landing during the forced takeover of the Hawaiian monarchy. And so because of this forceful takeover, the authorities were a part of enforcing English over Hawaii, so they could actually arrest people for speaking Olelo Hawaii. And students would also be reprimanded in schools if that they spoke it instead of English. And the systematic oppression led to a steep decline in the number of Hawaiian speakers. So like parents and grandparents chose not to pass on Olelo to later generations because of this oppression and that they can get in trouble for it, as well as the younger generation. And presently, people coming over from other US states to live in Hawaii, they don't really care as much to learn the language and expect the natives to know English because they primarily do know English. So it's kind of that lazy factor of like, why do I need to learn a language whenever that everybody else should already know what I know? And especially that expectation, since that Hawaii is a part of the United States, then it's expected for them to know English in everyday United States.
For the Hawaiian language, it is very important to take actions to try to preserve and expand the language. Thankfully, revitalization efforts have already started and is continuing to happen to this day. The revitalization efforts have started in Hawaii. Unfortunately, there hasn't been any successful programs outside of Hawaii, but hopefully that will happen in the future. The first efforts started in the 1970s, but it didn't really go anywhere. The second wave happened in the 1990s, and that had more momentum, which caused it to be more successful. More people started to realize that the Hawaiian language was becoming even more endangered, so they started to care more about finding ways to keep the language and culture alive. One Hawaiian emerging program that we found is called Aha Punana Leo and Kula Kaya Puni. They created this program to bring more confidence to the native people of Hawaii. According to Papaikani Keanui, Native Hawaiians are among the lowest scoring minorities in the nation on standardized achievement tests. So another hope of the emergent programs is to improve the educational status of the students that live in Hawaii. According to a paper by Claire Keiko Martin Townsend, true revitalization of the Hawaii language involves promoting its use in the broader community. As I mentioned before, there aren't any Hawaiian revitalization programs in any other state, so our group would suggest that more high schools should implement the option of learning Hawaiian.
So for our first tree that includes a complement, we have the sentence, the teacher took the students outside on the sunny day. And so kind of to do a breakdown of the English sentence first, took the students outside is the complement of the sentence. So it is, so the DP is sister to the VO. So the DP, the students outside, is sisters to the verb took. And then the PP phrase on the sunny day is an adjunct to the verb phrase took the students outside. With the X bar factors, we start off with how the IP is the heart of the sentence, identifying the subject, which is the teacher, and the predicate, the VP. So took the students outside on the sunny day. And the DP, the teacher, is the spec IP at the beginning of the tree. And the functional head of the I0 is complement to the VP, which is complement to the VP, which is a sister to X0. The functional level P takes the lexicon projection DP as its complement, so it's a sister to P0. And then for the syntactic operation as a head movement, the head PP on the sunny day can be moved to the front of the head DP. So the sentence would read, on the sunny day, the teacher took the students outside. All right, so now we're gonna look at the Olelo Hawaii version of the sentence. So as best translated, the sentence would, well, in Hawaiian, the sentence reads, Loe ke kumu ina haumana I waho I ka la ala. Yeah, I'm still learning with reading it. But so it would loosely translate to with the verb leading the sentence. So took, and then the DP, the teacher, and then the students outside on the sunny day. So the main difference that you see between these sentence trees is how that the verb leads the sentence is like kind of the head or the start of the tree. So instead of it being the DP, the teacher, it's VP took and then leads into the DP. And then another thing too that I found interesting was how E is leading a lot with that PP in the different phrases with it, and it kind of acts as the preposition filler in Hawaiian language. So like E is not the direct translation for the word on in Hawaii. It's more just like it kind of acts as that filler for it. So if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's our first sentence, including the complement.
In conclusion, our group hopes that anytime you visit a new place, that you take time to learn about the other's culture and language. As you can see, the effects of people going into Hawaii and just still speaking English, that's okay, but then that drowns out the natives who are still trying to preserve their language of Hawaiian. So be cautious wherever you go and wherever you travel, and it goes a long way if you just take a little bit out of your days to learn something new.